Anyway, here a couple months ago, I kind of got the word. It wasn't directly from Brownell, but it went something like this, that those folks up there in Iowa, Brownell, they're looking for an expert pistol smith to come up and talk to a large group of gun plumbers. Well, you know, I find a little problem with that kind of a statement. First one is the word expert. You know, expert. X is something that has been. Now, my age, I'm kind of approaching that situation, you know, has been, so to speak. And I'm not going to talk about the spurt. You know, that's a drip under pressure. So that's where I'm coming from, you know. And gun plumber, I kind of detest that word, gun plumber. And I've heard it slung around the students at the various schools that I've been to on the NRA summer schools. And it kind of sounds degrading for a professional or somebody working to be a professional to be called a gun plumber, or maybe even a parts changer. Now, you know what the definition of gun plumber is? Everybody remembers Bill Jordan. Is anybody here old enough to remember him? Because he passed on in '96. Very influential individual. One of my best friends in the industry. He's the gentleman that really started the Smith & Wesson Model 19, putting a .357 Magnum in a K-frame version and persuaded Smith & Wesson to do it, and for a more powerful law enforcement. Well, anyway, old Bill, he was telling me one day, you know, down in Texas, that I hung around this local gun shop a little bit. I went over there one day, and the guy, he had a gun plumber working for him in the back. And he said, I watched him. Damn, he drilled a hole in the wrong spot on that gun barrel. And I said to him, I believe you drilled that hole in the wrong place. What are you going to do now? The guy says, well, if it's not going to be covered up with a base or a scope mount or something, said I just stamp oil on the son of a bitch and send it on out. So that's the definition of a gun plumber. So I don't want to hear anybody around here talk about gun plumbers. I'll try to refrain from that word for the rest of the evening. I know everybody's looking for a good, solid, permanent job in the industry. Now, you guys all started out on the right foot. Get you a degree. It's important to have that degree. That degree will open up many, many doors in the industry for you. And, you know, really, if you're really going to be a good gunsmith, you have to live that job. You have to live it. And most likely, most of you had something earlier in life that triggered you to have a fascination of usually firearms. Probably it was a fascination of firearms, maybe how they work, how they shoot, the whole function of a firearm, how they can be designed to deliver accuracy or expected accuracy downrange. Something fascinated you about firearms, probably when you was real young. You could have been maybe seeing Roy Jean from the silver screen. Is anybody, I know there's some of us that old here, but anyway, it could be from the Silver Spring Cowboys. You know, all us youngsters had heroes. They had cap guns, pistol outfits, Western outfits you could give to the kids. You know, and then maybe the next step up was after having cap pistols, might have been a BB gun, a Red Ryder. Could have been something like that, or maybe something like a muzzle-loading rifle. Something in real firearms fascinated you. Could be a muzzle-loading rifle, or it could have been the grandpa's .22, right up the line to a modern-day gun now that's semi or full auto. Something fascinated you and turned you on to make you desire to become a gunsmith. And most likely, you have been born maybe with a gene of having mechanical ability. Now, to be a gunsmith, you have to have mechanical ability. You have to develop your skills. And these schools that you guys have been going to, they have given you the basic knowledge that you need to step forth to make this giant step out into the firearms industry. Like I said before, that opens the door to many things for you if you have a degree. Anyway, you have worked long and hard. It's been a sacrifice. It's been expensive. It took a lot of studying. It took a lot of hands-on, a lot of instructional training, direct maybe one-on-one for your instructor to you at the school. You have acquired the basic knowledge and some skill, but it takes a long time to develop skill, really skill, and to become a real professional. But you have acquired all of the basic knowledge and the skill that it takes to get started. Now, in order to succeed, if you don't have the financial backing or the equipment to start your own little gun shop, you're going to have to work as a gunsmith someplace. Now, right here at this program, this is the 5th year of it, and every year it gets bigger. I'm proud to say every year I think the students are even getting better. Anyway, this is the place to start. Here is one place that the industry comes to you as a graduate student, or even an undergraduate student. The industry is here. These folks are skilled, qualified people, and their interest is in you, or they wouldn't be here. So this is a good place to start. Get your resumes to all these folks, talk to these people in the industry, let them know who you are, what your interests are, and they'll be looking at you. Now, this don't always happen. Fact is, this is the only thing that I know of, the only organized meeting that we have, and we thank the Brownells folks for this, but where the industry comes to you. So if the industry does not come to you, what you have to do is go to it. Now, what this does is make you go to the SHOT Show, probably. I think most everybody, their instructors, is taken to the SHOT Show or the NRA show here, the students. This is a good place. The SHOT Show has something like 1,800 different manufacturers, and they have over 2,500 booths. So everybody has at least one booth, and some more than that. It's gotten so big that they have trouble finding a place to keep it, or to put it on, rather. So this is a good place for you to start. Go there, talk to these people, know these people in the industry. Let them know who you are, what your credentials are, what you're interested in. They're not only looking at somebody else's product to manufacture and market and make money. They're looking also for people to join them in their companies. So that's one place. Another place you can do, you go to the NRA. You know, everybody's been to NRA meetings, I imagine, that's here. Hopefully everybody belongs to the NRA. If you don't belong to the NRA, you're shucking your duty and responsibility as a firearms owner, let alone a gunsmith, or somebody that's going to be a professional gunsmith and make their living by it. You see, the NRA, they have a lot of political clout. Pete, quit smiling, damn it. The NRA has a lot of political clout. With all the members they got, they have a lot of voting power. So it's your responsibility to help protect the Second Amendment, preserve our gun rights, and support the NRA. Another thing, once you get into the business, you need to support the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the people at the SHOT Show. Where these people come in is that they have legal people that fight the battles, the legal battles, with the politicians and with Washington, D.C. and that group of people we got up there that want to introduce anti-gun legislation and get away from the Second Amendment and restrict us. And if you don't all stick together, you know what it amounts to? A stroke of the pen can put every one of us out of business. So it takes unity. There's strength in unity. So you need to support all these pro-gun organizations, especially these most important ones I mentioned. There's other small ones. Support them at the local levels. So it's your responsibility, being a professional gunsmith, you need to pay the price. It ain't all a free ride. It ain't all money coming in. Some money has to go out. So this I would like to see, and just in my heart, I would like to know that everybody that owns a firearm belongs to the NRA. Now the NRA, a lot of times, they make a few people mad. Maybe they didn't do something, you know, like you thought they ought to do. I've been upset with them. I imagine Pete has too by now. But here's how you look at that, and I heard this old man say one time when somebody was complaining and bitching and nagging about something that happened that was not very important. He gets up there and says, yeah, you know, I'm 93 years old. Said, I've had this woman for 60 years. Said, she messes up all the time. She's made a lot of big screw-ups, but I didn't divorce her. I still got her. I didn't kick her out. So if you have a problem with NRA, you go to overlook it because we need them. They're the main people that's between us and losing our Second Amendment. You know, I kind of promised not to talk about politics tonight, but as you know, the firearms industry is strong right now. It's strong right now, and probably since they elected our best sales rep here at the last election, it's really boosted the firearms industry. And the forecast is for the next election, another boom in sales of guns and ammunition. So, you know, I'm just interested in protecting the Second Amendment and keeping our rights, and it's up to us to be responsible. We're the ones that's responsible to do that. Know who you vote for. Now, when it gets down to looking for a job, after you search into the industry and you get to know all these industry people, and there's other things that you can do. You can start your own gunsmith shop, like I said, if you got enough money with the material, or the equipment and the material, to back yourself, start your own small gun shop. Some gunsmiths are satisfied with working hourly. You know, we got to have hourly workers in the industry. They work an eight-hour day job, 40 hours a week. A lot of them's happy at doing that. They don't want the hassle of having the FFLs and requirements that's made by the BATF and other rules and regulations, federal withholding, employee, taxes, insurance, all these headaches that come with a business. Well, now you're going to take over when I get done, bud. Doug knows all about that. He's had quite a bit of experience along these lines. But anyway, there's nothing wrong with being an hourly employee. Some of the best gunsmiths I have known in my life are hourly employees. They go home, have a regular life with their family, and enjoy life and come back to a regular working job. But most of the people I know, they're always wanting to get to the point to where they have their own business. Their own business, and maybe hire 2 or 3 guys under them and have a nice little small gun shop. A way to ease into that, if you're lucky and happen to have a gun shop in your area with, say you speak, a mom and pop size shop. Hang around the gun shop. That's what I did. They got to be mean to you to get rid of you. So you can kind of work a little bit on their sympathy, especially if they're real old. Now, instead of getting rid of you and being mean to you, they put you to work with a job. And that's one of the ways that I got started in the very beginning. And I had a mentor. Old gentleman, cantankerous old bastard, but he was a good guy. And anyway, I worked under him. And fact is, tell you how much work we did, and I'm not bragging, this is fact. There was one other gunsmith worked there, and from 1959 to 1963, myself and the other gunsmith had logged through 33,000 and some guns, general gun repair. Now this kind of work gives you a large knowledge of all the firearms that's out there. It was everything from Ortkeys and little small pistols and El Cheapos to high quality good guns and even rebarreling rifles. So that gives you a wide experience on working on all this stuff. So, you know, it don't hurt you to work for somebody else. Now, one thing about it, if you do work for somebody else and they are a mentor to you, don't work there 2 or 3 years. You know, especially this younger generation. The younger people are a whole lot smarter than they was when I was their age, because they've had training, they've gone to school, they're going to getting this degree, probably a 2-year degree at a gunsmith college. They're a whole lot sharper than what I was when I was young age like that. But if you work for a mentor, don't get to thinking after a couple years that you know all there is to know. Here you got this gun shop's getting $150 for an action job on a double action revolver, and you're only getting 40. Don't get to thinking, you know, they ought to give me the 150, you know, or I'll quit and open up a shop next door usually and go in competition with them, and I'll get that $150 for that action job. Stay with the mentor long enough to know, not think. There's a big difference between thinking and knowing, but stay with that mentor long enough to know what you're doing, build your confidence, build your experience, until you are ready to go on your own and can go on your own. And then if you don't, sometimes you can take over the business of the gun shop that you're working in, especially if it's an older folks in it. But if you don't take over that business, at least have enough respect for your mentor to get out of the area and not be in competition with him. Because if you go in competition with him, he's been there a long time, he's got established customers, and you'll probably starve to death if you stay in that area. And don't be bad-mouth him or burn any bridges, because you might find out that that mentor that you did have was your best friend. You follow what I'm trying to tell you? Don't think, know. Don't be jumping without knowing where you're jumping and what you're going to be jumping to. Now, as other jobs are going, you can look at, just think about all these guns that's out there for right now. 6 million Ruger 10/22s. A few years back, I knew there was over 10 million Remington 870 shotguns. On that list. How many John Brown and Colt 1911 and clones do you suppose it's out there? I'd be afraid to guess, but it's way up in the millions. Way up in the millions, these guns. Somebody has to work on these guns and keep them functioning. Think of all the guns the military has. You know, they need national match weapons armor. They need regular armors. All of your, like your Border Patrol, they got several armors that work for them. And they're civilian armors. They got good jobs. So there's a lot of jobs out there. You just have to know how to get to it. And that's the key. Let them know who you are, what your credentials are, and get in there and get it. That's the key word right there, the thing to do. Anyway, Doug promised if I had a senior moment, he'd come up here. Yeah, anyway, after we think of how many guns that's out there and how many professional gunsmiths that we have here, there's way more guns than there are gunsmiths, way more. There's a big need for you guys out there, big need. Excuse me while I look at my note here, senior moment.
That was the first one.
Okay. We got it. We're way over here on the back page. Okay. All right, another little thing you can think about too. And I did talk to some of the students here, and I know they've already got experience with some of the modern day machinery and equipment. You know, technology will never cease as long as we have human beings. You know, technology continues to grow. We just can't quit. And now we have CNC equipment, CAD, wire EDM, MIM. There's just a whole list of these new things, all kinds of injection, molding, and casting and done. And a lot of the firearms people, especially a lot of the new guys, now if you'll notice in the last 20 years or so, there's an awful lot of new gun manufacturers that are coming up. They're taking advantage, you know, of this new type equipment that we had. I never heard of a CNC. There wasn't even one made when I tried to be a gunsmith. But now they're taking advantage of it. There's many businesses right now that's going real strong that was started by guys just like you that had access to modern day manufacturing equipment. Now there's one thing about this modern day manufacturing equipment. Very good engineering goes into making the parts. You get it designed just right. It fits, it works, you pull it, it goes bang. But if you want any kind of a smooth action or anything, any kind of a quality feel or action to it, it requires still the touch of a gunsmith craftsmanship. You cannot make everything on a CNC, throw it together and have it run. Now it'll run and go bang, but it still needs some attention to be smoothed up and smoothed out. So there's still a demand for a gunsmith there. So, okay, the Second Amendment. Now, I talked about the pro-gun organizations and the Second Amendment. It guarantees us the right to keep and bear arms. It says it will not be infringed. This is a God-given right to a people of a republic, which is what we are, a nation. We are a republic. But our republic in this nation is run by a lot of liberal, democratic people in the government. And there's a lot of those folks think that firearms are usually just used to kill people with. And we need to prove to them that firearms are used for sporting use, recreation, home defense, and it's a legitimate use right for us to own them. So you need to know who to vote for when an election time comes. That's very important. Okay. I think somebody in here was bitching about a bear story. Who was that? There's a guilty guy back there. Well, I've had two drinks. Wayne Brownells is a guilty guy. Now, I haven't told this for a long time. I might screw up a little bit, you know, and have a senior moment right in the middle of it. But the difference between my stories and Frank's stories is that my stories are true. And all I have to do is repeat the actual happening. So I may get a little mixed up because I haven't told this for a long time. And I know we got one guide in Alaska here, if he's still in here, and he's familiar with all of what I'm talking about. Anyway, you know, back in the 60s up in Alaska, they had the big earthquake. Shortly after that, there's deep crevices in the ground, you know, and the water dropped 30, 40 feet in some places and higher in others and all that sort of thing. The terrain's pretty rough. So, I like to bear hunt. I spent 25 trips up to Alaska bear hunting before I got my fill of it. And during that time, I kind of worked in with a guide, so I would book clients for them. And one of my other friends down here in Kansas City named Tony Battaglia, little short Dago guy, I don't offend anybody, but anyway, little old short Tony, he had guide license. Me and him together, you know, he's about this tall, here I am 6'2". He's got to always walk in front because he's the official real guide. And I always got to walk one step behind him in his footprints so he don't show a big outline so a bear don't see and so heavy. So anyway, he and I, after all the hunters tagged out and left, then he and I get to go hunting on our own. Well, we went in too deep up this one river, way up the river, a couple, 3 miles further than we should have went. And a big storm came up and it's blowed up on us in a hurry. You know how quick it can do in some places. It just turned black. It's night, you know. Well, dumb us, we didn't take a flashlight. And so we start walking out as fast as we can. And by the time we said, well, we can cut through the woods right here on this bear trail, which is a no-no. We cut through on this bear trail and we'll get to the skiff and won't have to walk a mile down there and back up the other way, make a big U to get to it. We just cut through the dark timber. Well, this is where one of these big crevices was from the earthquake. And it's like 20 feet that way, deep, maybe 50 feet that way and 50 feet up, real deep. We're on the bear trail, and you could just barely see to walk. That's how dark it was. Well, little old short-legged Tony's in front of me, and we're going down through there, and just as we get to the bottom, there was a big brown bear coming the other way. And we all met right at the bottom. Tony, he hollered, "Bear," and he throwed his arms up. Well, I'm one step behind him, and I run right over him, and we fall down right under that bear's nose. Well, what you do in a case like this is holler and scream. You don't have no choice. You holler and scream. And hope the hell the bear goes the other way. Well, what happened? Tony went down first, and I'm on top of him, and we're hollering and screaming, and that bear goes, whoo, right in my face. He had bad breath, and he was about 4 feet from my nose. When he did that, he jumped straight up in the air. Now, we was all scared about the same, because when he jumped straight up in the air and made about face and went out, he deposited about a bushel basket full of used blueberries and fishbone right in my face. But the other most exciting thing that ever happened to him in my life, and it happened to all three of us at the same time, we passed a large volume of bowel movement at the same time, me, the bear, and Tony. And that's when I found out that a grown man can poop his pants. Now that's a God's truth. If you don't want to believe it, you don't have to, but that actually happened. And I heard that if a goose takes a big bite of bacon grease or a big hunk of fat, it'll just shoot right through them. Boy, I started making plans for that damn goose. So I got some of my dad's fishing line off his favorite rod and reel. He didn't know it, of course, but I got me about 20 feet of that, and I made a nice little loop of it real easy, and went and cut a big old piece of ham fat. Got a piece there about 1 inch square, and I tied that all around that fishing line. And these two geese, the next day, I was ready for them. And they knew they was going to get a piece of my sandwich. So I get out there and get right by them and kind of stay a little bit ahead of them, you know, and then I throwed that out. I cast it out to one of them, had a piece on each end of that string, and it lit just right. One piece in front of each goose, you know. Well, the first goose, he grabbed that sucker and gobbled it up. He's going along there with a string hanging out of his mouth, and the other one grabbed his and gobbled it up. Well, pretty soon that first one stopped. He stood up like this and trying to get that out of his mouth, you know, that string. Well, the other one hit the end of the string, and he about pulled that one wrong side out. Well, when I got home that night, I figured the neighbors would tell my dad, and I'd be in trouble and get a whipping, but nothing ever happened. I don't know what happened to those geese, but nothing ever happened. They didn't come back out there and try to get a piece every morning, I know that. Okay, we got to quit at that. It's getting late. I don't need Doug up here anyway. Here's what I'd like to do right now. I'd like to see all of the students and the under students stand, please. My, this is a great group. Great group. Let's everybody give them applause. We thank you all for coming. I want you to remember one thing, really. Every day of life, if you're a professional and you keep looking ahead, you never quit being a student in this trade. There's always something new coming up that you got to learn about. But every day in your life should be another day of continual learning experiences. Thanks for coming, everybody. God bless you. God bless the men and women in our military, and God bless America. Thank you.